Thanks, Ken Kreitzer for Canvas Media at Army football practice. I have a chance to talk to Army offensive coordinator Cody Worley. And Cody, you got the win. You got an early touchdown. You got a lead in the game. How did it feel to get a good start in the game? The defense makes a stop, get you the ball, and you're able to do the 10-minute, 34-minute drive. How did you feel about that?
Yeah, it was huge. To have the blocked field goal and carry that momentum into our drive. And admittedly, the drive was difficult. We had to overcome 2 fourth downs. We had to overcome a penalty. But the guys never wavered, and a lot of it is attributed to the preparation during the week and the attitude that we had going into the game. But any time that you can score first and get a lead, it certainly helps your opportunity. So to have a defensive stop, to go out there and put a drive together, 18-play drive, and take off 10, almost 11 minutes, was huge for our momentum moving forward, and really was huge for confidence.
And then the first drive, Dwayne Coleman ran the offense. How did you feel he did?
Did a good job, and executed the game plan really well early on. They executed the option game. Not a lot opened up in terms of quarterback run game on that drive. A lot of it was to stay on schedule or to get a first down. But to have the opportunity to go out and lead that group and distribute the ball and overcome things and overcome penalties and overcome fourth downs, I thought he did a really good job handling his business.
Then Cale Helms went in, I think it was the third drive of the game, and played most of the second half. How did you feel Cale Helms did in his time at quarterback in the game?
I think they both did a really good job in the opportunities they were given. Rode Cale in the second half. I thought he played pretty well. He hit the long pass to Samari, ran the ball really hard, and that's what he brings to the table. And he's got to continue to get better through weeks of preparation and weeks of practice, which he has. But I thought both guys played well.
And he scored 3 touchdowns on rushes, 5 yards, 1 yard, and 5 yards. How important is it that the quarterback can be able to complete the drives by those short runs near the goal line?
It's huge. When you get down there, teams, I don't care who you're playing, it's cover 0 and it's 11-on-11 football. So to be able to play +1 ball down there is incredibly important, especially for us. That's kind of our identity. It was really good to see Hayden Reed get in the box from the 4-yard line on a zone dive play. But, I think being able to switch things up, run the quarterback, but to have that opportunity, that's got to be who we are, and we got to find the end zone for sure. And I thought he did a good job handling it.
And Samari Howard had a couple of good catches in the game. 48 yards total on passing. Would you like to get more yards out of passing for this week?
Yeah, I think the opportunities that were there, we made the most of them for the most part. We had a 1-minute drive at the end, and Cale just happened to cover guys, and he ran. So I thought we made good decisions. We made the routine plays, which I think was huge. Didn't put them in a lot of challenging positions in the pass game, but took our shots when we needed to and executed when we did. I think every game plan changes, and obviously you take what the defense has given you, and a lot of the nature of the game dictates that as well. So, I think we'll continue to do what we have to do to keep defenses off balance and utilize our entire scheme to do that.
And what we talked a little bit with Will Jeffcoat today. He got the Ranger jersey recognized for his play in the game down at Birmingham. What did he do that was different? I know you were talking about the offensive linemen all having to try to improve their game last week, and we saw some. What did Will Jeffcoat do that stood out?
Well, it was just a gritty performance. He got banged up, came back in the game, really never wavered, and dominated at times. I watched the game again because obviously you watch the game film and you try to look at things and move forward. But after watching it again, I thought that unit was as violent of a game as I've seen us play. There's times where we're dumping guys 6 yards down the field, and getting the last touch and really playing our brand of football. And I thought all 5 guys played well and continued to get better. We're still not where we need to be or where we want to be, so that's part of preparation phase and get more reps, but I was really proud of how that unit played and set the tone of the game with their violence and their intentions.
Saturday, you got a big crowd. I'll be here at Mikey's Stadium for the Charlotte game. What do you see in the Charlotte defense that stands out?
I think the linebacking core is really good. They have 3 linebackers that really show up on film a lot. Number 6 is a guy that pops off the screen at the safety position. I know we'll get multiple looks like we have every week, different personnel packages. But, I have a ton of respect for their coaching staff. And I think year 1 is difficult. You look at what they've done at Ohio and just the programs that he's led and the teams that he's had. I think they're banged up and they're trying to find their identity. They get better every week. I thought that South Florida's a really good football team, but I think things are starting to come together for them. They're playing better. So I fully expect to get their best, and it's going to be challenging.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Ken there.
Ken McMillan, go ahead.
Hey Cody, Ken McMillan here.
How you doing?
Good. Hey, I asked the players this. They gave me the strict West Point answer, but how much of a relief was it to get that victory after 2 losses?
I think anytime you win, it's one thing that I have to tell myself constantly because it's our profession, but it is incredibly hard to win a football game. Ask the Penn State and Indy Lions how hard it is to win a football game. So anytime you win, you got to celebrate it and celebrate it with the guys and then put it to bed. That's the profession we're in. So to call winning a relief, I don't know that that's the word. I think all the hard work that you put into it and to get to see those guys celebrate in the locker room is the ultimate goal and the price. But you put it to bed 24 hours and you're on to the next opponent. So we celebrated it with the opportunity that we had, and we learned from the mistakes, and we moved on to Charlotte.
But 2 and 3 is clearly better than 1 and 4.
Always.
Mm-hmm. We were just talking about Will Jeffcoat. I know it's a collective as a line, but what does Will bring to the position? What skills? He really wouldn't elaborate. What makes him good?
He's not going to elaborate on much, but
yeah.
He's really tough. He doesn't leave things to chance, and that's through his preparation in practice, in film study, and meeting with Coach Vitti or Coach Blackshear. He's a steady guy from a leadership standpoint. He kind of does it in his own way, but if you turn on the film and watch him play, you see how much he cares, and he cares about every guy on the unit, and just the way he throws his body around and communicates and he goes above and beyond in a lot of ways, and it shows up in practice, it shows up in his preparation, and it showed up in his performance on Saturday.
I know medical science is good, but he lost a season 2 years ago to ACL or MCL. What does it say about him to be able to return like this?
Just how tough the kid is. I mean, he's as tough of a kid as I've ever been around, and it again, like every rep of practice, whether he's hurting or not, you get his best. And that's what you can expect out of Will Jeffcoat.
Hayden Reed, it looked to me like that was his best performance the other day as far as he seems healthy or healthier than we've seen him.
Yeah. I thought he really responded. He knew he didn't play well against East Carolina, got banged up again, broke his nose. So coming back and really taking coaching and accountability for his play. And he did play his best game. And from running the football and gutting through some things, but he really showed up last week with his character and the things that we challenged him with, and it showed up in his play. So I was really proud of how he responded.
And having him in the lineup healthy adds to what Noah brings and your quarterbacks bring. So having that third weapon back there is going to be critical.
It is. That position was really good on Saturday. Continue to, you saw Carson Smith, you saw Jake Rendina, you saw glimpses of Briggs Bartosh before he had to go out. But, that room it's going to continue to be, a room that we can count on. And it's got to be. I mean, like you said, that's got to be a room that produces not only with the ball but without it. And it was good to get those guys going. And I really credit the offensive line, but they ran hard. They maximized runs. They got yards after contact. I was really pleased overall with how those guys played.
And Briggs, is Briggs okay? He's kind of limited.
He'll be fine.
Okay. And Jake Rendina, obviously 2 key first downs the other day, made some key blocks. So it looks like he's getting back.
He is. It's good to see him back full speed and just the mentality that he brings and how steady he can be as a player. So, and it takes some heat off of Carson, takes some heat off of Hayden Reed to be able to sub those guys in and still get the same results.
I asked Jeff earlier, 7 penalties total for Army the other day, and a lot of them are on the offense. That had to be tough for you guys.
Yeah, the pre-snap penalties are unexcusable, and we control those. I thought the referees were consistent. They threw a lot of flags in the game. They threw a lot of flags on them as well. So I did think they were consistent. The 2 aggressive penalties, questionable. I don't get paid to do that. I think they did a good job of handling it, but the pre-snap penalties are unexcusable, and we got to get those cleaned up immediately.
Okay. And lastly, quarterback situation. We saw how you guys have been using. Any thinking on going into this week? Because I talked to Jeff about it today, that there's been no decision made as of Tuesday again. What are you guys looking for? What will determine?
I think both of those guys having the competitive spirit in practice is critical, and you're going to see both. We need both. Both of them played well. They bring different dimensions at times, but it's not like I hold anything back with either of them in the game. I think that it's the competition phase and really establishing themselves, but the way that they played collectively, and they knew that was going to be the plan going into the game. It's odd at quarterback maybe when you look at it, when in most cases you play one guy. But the way we practice, the way we prepare, the way guys have they have both handled the situation. They knew that they would both play in the game, and that'll be the plan going into this week as well.
But one might ask, when Cale obviously closed the game the other day, finished strong, 4 scoring drives, 24 points, one would think, we stupid sports writers, that, hey, he should be QB1 at least heading into the week. But it doesn't seem to be the case. Is that true? Do these guys have to keep earning this job every week until you guys settle on a QB1?
Yeah, I think that's part of the evaluation process. And you look at D. Cole led a 19-play drive to start the game for a touchdown, and his 2 other drives, we went 3 and out where he wasn't really involved. The first drive of the second half, it was kind of unfortunate to start that. And I felt like Cale was playing well, and where we are in the game, I just rode Cale. He got a lot of short fields too. So I thought both guys did their job and did it well. And if that's what we need to be successful, that's what we'll continue to do. I think they help each other. It takes some pressure off of just one guy, and not knowing that they have a leash either. They're both going to play. It's just like playing 2 linebackers or playing 4 running backs or playing 2 wide receivers. That's the way we practice, the way we prepare until one of them just completely overtakes, and we'll continue the co-op way of working, and it's the way they compete and the way they support each other is the main thing. You see D. Cole on the sideline. He did a great job of supporting his teammates, cheering on Cale. He never wavered, and same thing when D. Cole's in the game. So, I expect both of those guys. You'll see both of those guys moving forward. If a guy gets a hot hand, it's just like the running back position. If Briggs Bartosh gets a hot hand, you're going to see more Briggs Bartosh than you are anybody else. So it's
but that's why I was curious, because Cale did end the game really strong.
Yeah.
I would have thought maybe he would be a clear number 1 this week.
Yeah, you'd have to go and watch the game too, Ken. So yeah. I thought both of them played really well, and in any of those situations, I think D. Cole would have played well as well.
Sure, but you also brought up the word pressure. Is there pressure? They must add a little pressure to themselves to perform. I know it's the natural thing to do in that position, but do they have to fear about getting the hook?
I don't think so. I think it takes the heat off of them when they both know that they're going to play. When you go into a game and all of a sudden you just put one in, then it kind of it hurts their confidence, or when they know that there's going to be a package, or they know that they're both going to play, then they're very supportive. They're very competitive. You get what you want out of practice, and neither of them have really, just he's the guy. And both of them played well, and that worked on Saturday. and we'll continue to evaluate every practice.
Sure, last one. In a way, are Dwayne and Cale similar in style versus, say, a couple of years ago when you had was very diverse quarterbacks, Tyre and
Christian Anderson, Cade Ballard, Jabari Laws.
right?
Yeah.
So they were very different. Are these two more similar?
I think so. I don't hold anything back with the offense with either of them in the game. I really don't. They both can execute at a high clip. Hopefully, they've showcased that. So I don't really hold much back. We don't run certain plays just because Dwayne's in the game or run certain plays just because Cale's in the game. I think they both function really well overall, and I think that helps the play of the offense.
Sounds good. Cody, thanks for your time tonight.
Thank you. Have
Thanks,
a good
Ken.
one.
Take care.
Thanks, Cody. Have a good night.
Yep. Thank you guys.